everything came out of not unlike the film through adversity. Jonas and I, we had written a screenplay that we were prepping and about to shoot, and then the financial crisis happened and the film fell apart. So at the same time, he showed me a screenplay that he has written, something that he's about to start directing now. And he wanted notes, and I said, I don't have that many notes, but I want to do screenplay like this. And the thing is that it was, what that screenplay was a story of only 2 characters and in a very hostile environment, and that through a whole journey, a lot of themes are dealt with. And it's when we decided, we started exploring, we decided that the theme, because it was something was very, very present in our life, was adversities. And that was the point of departure. We took the theme of adversity, we used the debris as a metaphor for adversities. And we wanted to do a film that was a journey of a character that, even though the experience is very specific, like the space, we wanted audiences to connect to that character emotionally based upon their own experiences, meaning that everybody has adversities in life. Sometimes every day, or sometimes you have little adversities, and in many occasions you have big periods of adversities. And it's pretty much is how what defines us is how we come. What is the after effect of the adversities? And pretty much that was the point of departure. And we wanted to do a film in which we could try to strip the narrative as much as possible and rely on character just to keep the tension. This film deals with the worst case scenario of a live action film and the worst case scenario of an animation. And in both instances, the thing is that our brain is used to operate from the standpoint of gravity and weight. And here, in order to achieve what we need to do, it was to strip from those notions. So there's a fair amount of animation, for instance, that takes place with this film. The problem is that people who learn how to animate, they learn how to draw. And they learn how to draw based upon 2 basic concepts, horizon and weight. And so it was a whole learning process that they had advisors, scientists and physics, giving them seminaries about how things would react. Some things were as complicated of just seeing how the tethers would react. Because when one object in space pulls another object, the other object creates resistance and pulls it back. So it was a whole thing of it sometimes was computer simulations in order to do that. And we would try to be as accurate as possible, always honoring that it's a fiction, not pretending that this is a documentary. So we had to take certain freedoms and certain liberties in order to tell the story, but trying to be as accurate as possible. The toughest thing that was how the actors, in the process of the actors, how they had to absorb all of that information of the loss of space. And that's a little bit what Sandra was talking, that in terms of the choreography. A lot of the stuff that we had to do required for the 2 of them to be insulated and to react to very specific cues and points. It was a very abstract way of doing a performance. And then I'm very grateful with these 2 guys, because if you would see how we shot this film, and then you see the end result of what they deliver as a performance, is really amazing. Because pretty much they were sometimes performing against just very specific marks and cues that they would rehearse and rehearse in order that when we were shooting, all that rehearsal was like second nature, and it was just performance and emotion. Yeah, I mean, we had several advisors. We had astronauts, people who have been in space, people who work in a more technical aspect with the machinery that we used. But as important was just people that were like experts in physics, that they would try to explain us, because we never understood that damn thing. But they tried to explain us how things would react in space. Because it's seriously, it's very counterintuitive. So, and that's the thing that also was a big challenge for the actors, because you're doing something that is counterintuitive when you don't have physical reference around, because sometimes they were performing against nothing. So I think that was, I think the correct expression is the mind fuck of the whole process. But yeah, it was great to see Sandy talking with, sometimes you said, Sandy, come on, let's go, and she was in the phone saying, ISS. You know, like I said, okay, talk to the ISS. From the, mi dispiace parlare in inglese perché il mio italiano è brutto. From the get-go, when we decided to do a film in space, it was very obvious the metaphorical value of space. You have a character who's drifting, following her own inertia. And in one hand, she has life. She has planet Earth, human connection. And in the other side, she's drifting towards the void. So that's already, I think, it's a metaphor of stuff that sometimes we have to endure in bigger, major, or bigger or lesser degree. Again, we wanted to do a film about adversities and the possibility of a rebirth. And rebirth, I'm talking about knowledge, having a new knowledge of yourself after an experience. And obviously, part of that rebirth is the acceptance of death. You know, I think that that is the biggest experience of knowledge that we want to attain is the acceptance of death. And at the end, again, being metaphorical, in one hand, we wanted to just, I mean, it's something that we talk about, Jonas and I, when we were writing the script, is that we see a character that, first of all, is a character that lives in her own bubble. You know, literally lives in her own bubble. And she needs to shred that skin. She needs to come out of the bubble in order to begin her process. Then at the end, when you're talking about walking, yes, it's literally, and I think that it's something that actually George, reading the script, you said that the character of Matt has to say you have to plant your feet on the earth as a reference to that ending, you know, just to clarify, if anything, you know, because that's the journey of that character. She has to put her feet on the earth, his feet back on earth. But it's like what metaphorically you tell people, you have to put your feet on the ground and just keep on going. And other thing we went to do with that one, it was just a reference of, in one or two shots, do a little story of evolution, going from in a lake with murky water into coming out like a reptile, crawling, going then in like in a very weak two-legged position until finally she goes erect. You know, she regains, you know, it's her, the whole evolution of the character.